A rich CEO told a poor janitor he was nothing. He said the janitor's life didn't matter. But later that same day, when the CEO was trapped and going to die, only one person tried to save him. The same janitor he had hurt with his cruel words. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he finished mopping the marble floors of Richardson Tower. At 32, his hands were already rough from years of cleaning offices, but he didn't mind. This job paid enough to keep food on the table for his 8-year-old daughter, Emma. "Dad, when will you pick me up today?" Emma had asked that morning, her big brown eyes looking up at him with pure trust. "Same time as always, sweetheart." 6 p.m. sharp, Marcus had promised, kissing her forehead before dropping her off at school. Now it was 4 p.m., and Marcus was on the 45th floor, cleaning the executive offices. The building was mostly empty except for security and a few workers like him. As he pushed his cleaning cart down the hallway, he heard voices coming from the corner office. The biggest one that belonged to William Richardson, the billionaire CEO of Richardson Industries. "Sir, the weather report shows a severe storm coming," a woman's voice said. "I don't care about the weather, Sarah. Cancel my helicopter ride home. I'll take my private elevator down to the parking garage and drive myself," Richardson replied in his cold, commanding tone. Marcus had seen Richardson many times but had never spoken to him. The CEO was known for his arrogance and his habit of looking down on the little people who worked in his building. As Marcus continued cleaning, he accidentally knocked over a small trash can near Richardson's office. The loud clatter echoed through the quiet hallway. Richardson's door flew open. "What's all this noise?" he demanded, stepping out in his expensive suit. Marcus quickly bent down to pick up the scattered papers. "Sorry, sir. I'll clean this up right away." Richardson looked at Marcus with disgust. "You people need to be more careful. Do you know how much money I make every minute? Your clumsiness is costing me time." "I'm really sorry, Mr. Richardson. It was an accident," Marcus said, still picking up the mess. Richardson stepped closer, his face showing clear contempt. "An accident? You're a janitor. Your whole existence here is meaningless. You're nothing but a servant who cleans up after successful people like me." The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut, but he kept his head down. He needed this job. Emma needed him to keep this job. "Look at me when I'm talking to you," Richardson demanded. Marcus slowly stood up and met the CEO's cold stare. "You know what the difference between us is?" Richardson continued. "I built an empire. I create jobs for worthless people like you. Without me you'd have nothing. You should be grateful I even allow you to work in my building." "Yes, sir," Marcus whispered, his hands shaking slightly. "Yes, sir, what?" Richardson pressed. "Yes, sir. Thank you for giving me this job," Marcus forced himself to say. Richardson smirked. "That's better. Now clean up this mess and stay out of my way." As Richardson walked back into his office, Marcus felt tears threatening to fall. But he pushed them back. He had faced worse insults before. What mattered was Emma. Everything he did was for Emma. An hour later, Marcus was cleaning the bathrooms on the 40th floor when he heard a strange rumbling sound. The building shook slightly, making the windows rattle. He looked outside and saw dark clouds gathering. The storm was arriving faster than expected. Lightning flashed across the sky, and rain began pounding against the windows. Marcus finished his work and was heading toward the service elevator when he heard a loud crash from somewhere above. The lights flickered and an alarm started blaring. "Attention all personnel," came a voice over the building's speaker system. "We are experiencing technical difficulties due to the storm. Please remain calm and stay where you are until further notice." Marcus was worried. He needed to pick up Emma in less than 2 hours. But as he pressed the button for the service elevator, nothing happened. The power had gone out on several floors. He decided to try the main elevator on the other side of the building. As he walked through the dark hallways using his phone's flashlight to see, he heard a voice calling for help. "Hello? Is someone there? Help me." The voice was coming from the main elevator shaft. Marcus rushed toward the sound and found something terrible. The elevator was stuck between the 42nd and 43rd floors, and through the small gap he could see someone trapped inside. "Help. The elevator dropped and I'm stuck," the voice called out desperately. Marcus shined his phone light through the gap and gasped. It was William Richardson, the same man who had humiliated him just hours before. Richardson's face was pale with fear, and there was blood on his forehead from where he had hit the elevator wall during the sudden drop. "Mr. Richardson? Can you hear me?" Marcus called out. "Yes. Who is that? Get me out of here." Richardson shouted back, his usual arrogance replaced by pure panic. "It's Marcus, sir. The janitor from earlier. I'm going to help you." Even in his terrified state, Richardson's voice carried a hint of his earlier contempt. "You? What can you possibly do? Call the fire department." Marcus pulled out his phone, but there was no signal. The storm had knocked out the cell towers. "Sir, there's no phone service. The storm has knocked everything out. But don't worry, I'll figure out how to get you out." Marcus looked around and found the emergency phone near the elevator. He picked it up, but it was dead too. Through the gap, he could see Richardson's situation was getting worse. The elevator car was hanging by cables that were clearly damaged. Every few minutes, it would drop another inch with a terrifying metallic screech. "The cables are breaking," Richardson screamed. "I'm going to fall." Marcus's heart raced. He thought about Emma waiting for him at school. He thought about how Richardson had treated him earlier. But then he looked at the fear in the man's eyes, and all of that didn't matter anymore. A human life was in danger. "Mr. Richardson, listen to me. I worked in construction before I became a janitor. I know something about elevators. I'm going to try to help you, but I need you to stay calm." "How can you help me? You're just a janitor," Richardson shouted, but his voice was shaking with fear. Marcus ignored the insult. He examined the elevator shaft and realized the car was held by 3 cables. 2 had already snapped, and the third was unraveling strand by strand. He found a maintenance ladder inside the shaft and began climbing up to get a better look. The shaft was dark and dangerous, but Marcus had worked in worse conditions during his construction days. "What are you doing?" Richardson called out. "I'm going to try to secure the elevator from above," Marcus explained, climbing higher. As he climbed, Marcus could see the full extent of the damage. The storm had caused a power surge that damaged the elevator's safety systems. The remaining cable was attached to a motor that had partially broken away from its mounting. Marcus reached the machinery room above the shaft. His hands were shaking, but not from fear, from determination. He found some heavy chains used for maintenance and began working to create a backup support system. "Can you see anything up there?" Richardson called out, his voice now filled with desperation rather than arrogance. "I'm working on it, sir." "Just hold on," Marcus replied, sweat dripping from his face as he worked to attach the chains to the elevator car. The work was dangerous. One wrong move and Marcus could fall down the shaft himself. But he kept thinking about Emma. She had taught him that everyone deserves kindness, even people who aren't kind to you. "Why are you helping me?" Richardson suddenly called out. "After what I said to you earlier, why are you risking your life for me?" Marcus paused in his work. "Because it's the right thing to do, sir. And because my daughter taught me that we should help people when they need it, no matter what." There was silence from below for a moment. Then Richardson's voice came up, quieter than before. "You have a daughter?" "Yes, sir. Emma." "She's 8 years old," Marcus said, continuing to work with the chains. "I need to pick her up from school at 6. She'll be worried if I'm late." "What time is it now?" Richardson asked. Marcus checked his phone. 5:30, sir." Richardson's voice became even quieter. "You could leave. You could go get your daughter and let the professionals handle this tomorrow morning." "No, sir. I can't do that," Marcus said firmly. "You could fall at any moment. I won't let that happen." As Marcus worked to secure the chains, he heard Richardson start to speak again. I was wrong earlier. What I said to you was terrible. You're not worthless. You're not meaningless." Richardson's voice was shaking, but not just from fear. "I've spent so much time thinking I was better than everyone else that I forgot what it means to be human." Marcus secured the first chain and moved to the second one. "It's okay, Mr. Richardson. Let's just focus on getting you out of here." "No, it's not okay," Richardson continued. "I've treated people like you terribly for years. I thought money and success made me superior. But here you are, risking your life to save someone who insulted you and treated you like garbage." The remaining elevator cable made a loud snapping sound, and the car dropped another few inches. Richardson screamed. "The chains are holding." Marcus called out. "You're okay. The chains I attached are supporting you now." Marcus's improvised support system was working, but he knew it was only temporary. He needed to get Richardson out of the elevator before the chains failed too. He climbed down to the level where the elevator was stuck and found a maintenance panel. Using tools from his cleaning cart, he managed to pry open the elevator doors slightly. "Mr. Richardson, can you see the opening?" Marcus called out. "Yes, but it's too narrow. I can't fit through," Richardson replied. Marcus worked for another 20 minutes, using every tool he could find to widen the opening. His hands were cut and bleeding from the sharp metal edges, but he didn't stop. Finally, he managed to create an opening just wide enough for a person to squeeze through. Okay, Mr. Richardson. I need you to carefully move toward the opening. I'm going to help pull you out. What if the elevator falls while I'm moving? Richardson asked. The chains will hold. I promise you, sir. Trust me. Richardson slowly moved toward the opening. When he was close enough, Marcus reached in and grabbed his arms. On the count of 3, I'm going to pull you out. 1, 2, 3. Marcus pulled with all his strength, and Richardson squeezed through the opening just as the elevator car dropped another inch with a loud crash. Both men fell backward onto the floor of the hallway, breathing heavily. Richardson was covered in dust and blood, but he was alive. For a moment they just lay there in the darkness, catching their breath. You saved my life, Richardson whispered. You actually saved my life. Marcus sat up and checked his phone. It was 6:15 p.m. I need to call my daughter's school, he said, worried. She'll be scared if I don't pick her up. Richardson looked at Marcus with amazement. Even now, after everything that just happened, you're thinking about your daughter? She's the most important thing in my life, sir, Marcus said simply. Richardson was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a satellite phone. Use this, he said. It works even when regular phones don't. Marcus called Emma's school and explained he would be late due to an emergency. The teacher assured him they would wait with Emma until he arrived. As they waited for the emergency crews to arrive, Richardson asked Marcus about his life. He learned that Marcus had been a single father since Emma's mother died in a car accident 3 years earlier. He learned that Marcus worked 2 jobs to pay for Emma's school and her asthma medication. He learned that despite all his struggles, Marcus had never missed a day of work and had never complained about his situation. I don't understand, Richardson said. How do you stay so positive? How do you remain kind when life has been so hard on you? Marcus smiled slightly. Emma asks me the same question sometimes. I tell her that being angry or bitter won't change our situation. But being kind, working hard, and helping others when we can, that makes the world a little better for everyone. Richardson stared at Marcus in the dim light coming through the windows. I've never met anyone like you. When the emergency crews finally arrived, they were amazed at what Marcus had done. The fire chief, a veteran with 20 years of experience, said he had never seen a more creative or effective rescue performed by someone without professional training. You saved this man's life, the fire chief told Marcus. If that elevator had fallen completely, he would have died. Richardson insisted on going to the hospital to get checked out, but first he had something important to do. Marcus, I need to ask you something. Will you let me drive you to pick up Emma? It's the least I can do. Marcus was surprised by the offer. Sir, you should get to the hospital. I can take the bus. No, Richardson said firmly. I want to meet the little girl who raised such an extraordinary father. They drove to Emma's school in Richardson's luxury car. Emma ran to her father as soon as she saw him, throwing her arms around his waist. Daddy? I was worried about you, she said, hugging him tight. I'm sorry I was late, sweetheart. There was an emergency at work, but everything is okay now, Marcus said, kneeling down to hug her back. Richardson watched this reunion with tears in his eyes. He had never seen such pure, unconditional love. Emma, this is Mr. Richardson. He's the owner of the building where Daddy works, Marcus said. Emma looked up at Richardson with her bright, trusting eyes. Hi, Mr. Richardson. Thank you for giving my daddy a job. He works really hard to take care of me. Richardson knelt down to Emma's level, something he had never done with any child before. Emma, your daddy is the bravest, kindest man I've ever met. He saved my life today, even though I was very mean to him earlier. Emma looked puzzled. Why were you mean to my daddy? He's the best daddy in the whole world. Richardson felt his throat tighten with emotion. You're absolutely right, Emma. He is the best daddy in the whole world. And I was wrong to be mean to him. I'm very sorry. Emma, with the innocent wisdom that only children possess, reached out and patted Richardson's hand. It's okay, Mr. Richardson. Daddy says everyone makes mistakes sometimes. What matters is that we try to do better. Richardson looked up at Marcus, then back at Emma. In that moment, he realized that this 8-year-old girl had more wisdom and kindness than he had shown in his entire adult life. Over the next few weeks, Richardson couldn't stop thinking about Marcus and Emma. He learned more about Marcus's background through the HR department. Marcus had graduated from college with an engineering degree but had taken the janitor job because it offered health insurance for Emma's medical needs. He had been working there for 2 years, always arriving early and staying late, never taking sick days even when he was clearly unwell. Richardson also learned that Marcus tutored other employees' children in math and science during his lunch breaks, for free. He volunteered at Emma's school on weekends, helping with maintenance work that the school couldn't afford to hire professionals for. The more Richardson learned, the more ashamed he became of his past behavior, not just toward Marcus but toward all his employees. 1 month after the elevator incident, Richardson called Marcus into his office. Marcus entered nervously, wondering if he was in trouble. "Marcus, please sit down," Richardson said, gesturing to a chair across from his desk. "Sir, if this is about the elevator incident, I want you to know I was just doing what anyone would do," Marcus began. "Stop," Richardson said, holding up his hand. "That's where you're wrong. Not anyone would have done what you did. Most people would have run away. Some might have called for help and waited. But you risked your own life to save someone who had treated you terribly." Richardson stood up and walked around his desk. "Marcus, I've been doing a lot of thinking since that day. About my life, about how I treat people, about what really matters." He sat down in the chair next to Marcus. "I want to offer you a job. Not as a janitor, but as a project manager in our engineering department. The salary is $75,000 a year, plus health benefits, plus a college fund for Emma." Marcus stared at Richardson in shock. "Sir, I don't understand. Why would you do this?" "Because you deserve it. Because you have the skills and the character that this company needs. And because I want to start making things right." Marcus felt tears forming in his eyes. "Mr. Richardson, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Richardson smiled. "Emma deserves to have her father working in a job that matches his abilities and his worth." "Yes," Marcus whispered. "Yes, absolutely yes." But Richardson wasn't finished. "There's more. I'm starting a foundation to help single parents in situations like yours. Parents who are working below their potential because they need jobs with good health insurance. I want you to help me run it." Over the following months, Marcus excelled in his new position. His engineering background, combined with his work ethic and ability to connect with people, made him invaluable to the company. But more importantly, Richardson began to change. He started treating all his employees with respect. He implemented policies to help working parents. He created scholarship programs for employees' children. Richardson also developed a close relationship with Emma. He attended her school plays and soccer games. He helped Marcus teach her about science and business. Emma, in return, taught Richardson about joy, wonder, and unconditional love. One evening, 6 months after the elevator incident, Richardson joined Marcus and Emma for dinner at their small apartment. As they ate Emma's favorite spaghetti and meatballs, Emma asked Richardson a question. "Mr. Richardson, do you have any kids?" Richardson's smile faded slightly. "No, Emma. I was too busy with work to get married and have children." Emma looked thoughtful. "That's sad. Kids are the best part of life. They make everything more fun." "You're absolutely right," Richardson agreed. "I realize now that I missed out on a lot by focusing only on money and business." After Emma went to bed, Richardson and Marcus sat on the small balcony, looking out at the city lights. "Marcus, I need to tell you something," Richardson said. "That day in the elevator when I was trapped and scared, I realized something important. All my money, all my success, all my achievements, none of it mattered in that moment. I was just a frightened man who needed help." Marcus nodded, listening quietly. "But you," Richardson continued, "you risked everything for someone who had treated you horribly. You showed me what real strength looks like. What real success looks like." "I just did what felt right," Marcus said modestly. "No, you did what was right even when it was hard. Even when you had every reason not to." Richardson looked at Marcus seriously. "You and Emma saved my life in more ways than one. You saved me from becoming completely lost as a human being." A year later, Richardson Industries had become known as one of the best companies to work for in the country. Employee satisfaction was at an all-time high, and productivity had increased significantly. Marcus had been promoted to vice president of engineering, and he was using his position to mentor other employees who were working below their potential. The foundation Richardson had started, with Marcus as co-director, had helped hundreds of single parents get better jobs and educational opportunities for their children. But the biggest change was in Richardson himself. He had learned to find joy in simple things: Emma's laughter, Marcus's friendship, the satisfaction of helping his employees succeed. One evening, as Richardson was leaving the office, he stopped by the cleaning crew to thank them for their hard work. As he watched one of the janitors carefully mopping the floors, he remembered that day a year ago when he had insulted Marcus for doing the same job. He walked over to the janitor, a young man who looked tired after a long day of work. "Excuse me," Richardson said gently. "I wanted to thank you for keeping our building so clean. You do excellent work." The young man looked up in surprise. "Thank you, sir. That means a lot coming from you." Richardson smiled. "What's your name?" "David, sir." "David, do you have any other skills besides cleaning? Any education or training?" David hesitated, then said quietly, "I have a degree in accounting, sir. But I took this job because I needed the health insurance for my mom. She's been sick." Richardson nodded thoughtfully. "David, would you be interested in interviewing for a position in our accounting department? Same health benefits but better pay and a chance to use your education." David's eyes widened with hope. "Sir, are you serious?" "Very serious. Come see me tomorrow morning and we'll talk about it." As Richardson walked away, he thought about Marcus and how that terrible day in the elevator had changed both their lives forever. He thought about Emma, who had shown him that kindness and love were more valuable than all the money in the world. And he thought about how sometimes the people we think are beneath us are actually the ones who can lift us up and show us what it truly means to be human. That night, Richardson called Marcus to tell him about his conversation with David. "You're learning," Marcus said with a laugh. "Emma will be proud when I tell her you're helping more people." "Marcus," Richardson said quietly, "I need you to know something. You and Emma aren't just my friends, you're my family. You're the family I never had but always needed." "We feel the same way about you," Marcus replied. "Emma calls you Uncle William now, you know." Richardson felt his eyes fill with tears. "Uncle William. I like that better than CO." As he hung up the phone, Richardson looked around his penthouse apartment filled with expensive things but lacking warmth. Tomorrow, he decided, he would start looking for a regular house in Emma's neighborhood. A place where a little girl could visit her Uncle William whenever she wanted. Because he had finally learned what Marcus had always known, that the most valuable things in life aren't things at all. They're the people who love you, the people you help, and the person you choose to become. The single father who had risked everything to save a man who had mocked him had ended up saving them both. And in doing so, he had shown the world that heroism isn't about cape and superpowers. It's about choosing kindness when it's difficult, choosing to help when it's dangerous, and choosing love when it would be easier to choose hate. Marcus never stopped being humble about what he had done that day. But Emma made sure everyone knew her daddy was a hero. And William Richardson spent the rest of his life trying to be worthy of the friendship of the man who had saved his life and taught him how to truly live. In the end, the elevator had been stuck for less than 2 hours. But the rescue had taken a lifetime to complete, because it wasn't just about saving a man from falling. It was about saving him from a life without meaning, without connection, and without love. And that kind of rescue, Marcus had learned, was always worth the risk.